What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today on tap, we got, it's called The Coming Islamic Antichrist. And let's go ahead and jump into it.
Show your daughter how much you love her with this beautiful gift. It says, "To my daughter, never forget that I love you."
The coming Islamic Antichrist. Will you be ready?
Shout out to the channel Kingdom Covenant. He's the one who made this. We're just checking it out under fair use. Warning, some audiences may find this content offensive.
When most people think of the Antichrist and the false prophet, they usually think of the Pope, perhaps a future Russian or European leader. Some might even put modern-day presidents on that list. But when the simple idea is mentioned that these two figures could actually be Islamic in nature, most people immediately tune out. Now I get it. We're speaking about a religion that has nearly 2 billion followers, a total of 26 countries worldwide, and is expected to become the dominant religion on the planet.
See, for me, it makes sense. The Antichrist would be a Muslim. It just makes perfect sense to me.
Possibly within our generation. So how could we actually say that this faith, with such global influence, prophecies and revelation, perhaps just a hate-filled video full of Christian conspiracies that shouldn't be taken seriously?
I think the man they just showed about 3 seconds ago is a top candidate for AC, MBS.
Seriously. And this is what I want you to understand. This is not a video bashing the Muslim community
What's up,
in any
Stephen?
way.
How
They're
you been,
perhaps
buddy?
the most loving and
Yeah, we had a good Christmas. We didn't do too much. We don't really do too much on Christmas. We just have dinner with the family. We don't even really buy presents anymore. We just get the kids presents and stuff. But how was your Christmas? It's good to see you again. This one's titled The Coming Islamic Antichrist. This truth has been hidden from the church.
faithful people I have ever met. What this video is a glance into a theory that most people have not really considered, especially in the West. When we take a deep dive into the teachings and beliefs of both faiths, specifically on the end times, we find something that cannot be ignored. Many don't actually know that Islam has an antichrist of its own, which can be compared to the biblical figure in certain ways.
Yeah, his name is called the Dajjal.
His name? Dajjal, or Arabic for deceiver. He is a man that will come in the last days, performing false miracles, will claim to be the God of the Jews in Jerusalem, and will deceive the world away from the Islamic faith. Now that sounds somewhat similar to the Bible's version, right? But here is where it starts to get scary. Dajjal, in the midst of his rule, is said to be the direct enemy of two messianic figures that will come to oppose his dominion and establish the new Islamic world order. Now, why is this story so unsettling, you might ask? Well, according to the biblical version, the Antichrist does not operate alone, like Dajjal.
The Islamic order is called the Caliphate. They've been trying for a long time to spread the Caliphate. It's basically when the Mahdi comes and spreads Islam to the world. It's called the Caliphate.
But rather, has an accomplice. You know him as the false prophet. And together, these two individuals wage war on a single. Oh man.
If you guys have been watching my videos the last week, I made a video yesterday about a man called the Yanuka in Israel. For me, he is the top candidate for the false prophet. He just fits the false prophet to a T. He knows every book of Judaism, the Torah, the Talmud, the Tanakh, which I've heard so many rabbis say is impossible. It's literally hundreds of thousands of pages, and they say it's impossible to memorize it like he did. and then he performs miracles, they say. So if you guys haven't seen it, check that one out. He's a really good candidate for me. I believe the beast is the papacy. Whoever is the pope at the time will be the Antichrist, but I'm willing to watch. Maybe you can change my mind. That's it. I mean, that's always a possibility too, Stefan. I haven't ruled that out at all. That's definitely a possibility, especially if you look into Malachi's prophecy of the popes. He named the last 112 popes in succession, and basically Francis was the last pope on the list. So I definitely haven't ruled them out at all. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm always open to just looking at different stuff, and I don't rule anything out for sure. I think that'd be stupid to rule anything out. There's a very good chance you could be correct there.
A man who also claims to be the God of the Jews, performs miracles, and leads people out of the Islamic faith.
A lot of people think that like the mark will be forced Sunday law, basically, where they will force everyone to go to church on Sunday. And the church has said that one of the popes made a comment about, I think, changing the Sabbath, and they said that was the Vatican's mark. So, I mean, you could be 100% correct there, buddy.
Hey, who is this figure? Can you guess? His name is Jesus Christ. When these two accounts are put side by side, they seem to...
Yeah, Sunday law would be where they force basically the whole world to attend church on Sunday, and if you don't, you could be executed. Yeah, that's a lot of people think that could be the mark of the beast through, if the papacy was the beast, they think the mark would be forced Sunday law, where you're forced to go to church, basically. You don't have a choice every Sunday. That's been a theory for good 20, 25 years now. I've been reading about that for a long time.
To be the exact same story, just from different perspectives. The roles are simply reversed. The heroes for one account.
Just like Sunday worship, the sun, paganism, sun, the sun in the sky, Sunday worship.
Are the enemies of the other.
Everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people think the real Sabbath falls on Saturday.
Islam's Dajjal is the Bible's Messiah, and Islam's Messiahs are the Bible's Antichrists. Now that is a lot to take in. Believe me, I know. We haven't even begun to unravel the full mystery yet.
Stephen said, "Are you a Sabbath keeper?" No, I mean, I try to relax and stuff on Saturdays, but I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I do, buddy. It's life. Too much stuff happens, and there's just days you got to. I mean, I probably should try to be, but I'm not going to sit up here and say I am and lie about it. I guess people get busy and stuff.
But what you first need to understand is that the differences we see between these figures do not make its followers enemies in the same way. Christians are called to love their neighbor, and Muslims to peaceful submission to Allah. It should not be viewed as one versus the other. This video was made in fact.
But I probably should try to relax and not do too much on a Saturday. I mean, I probably should start trying to.
For both groups, the Muslim and the Christian. It's for the individual who wants to understand the warnings given by the prophets and apostles of old to make themselves ready for the spirit of truth and the deception that's coming upon the entire world. Many people think the Bible is silent on the religion of Islam, considering it was written nearly 600 years before the Quran.
I need to start fasting again too. I haven't fasted in a long time. I need to start doing like regular fasts and stuff too. I mean, it's good for the body anyway, doing a fast like that, especially with the garbage food they feed us nowadays. But Bible's pretty clear about when you really want to get deep in prayer, you should fast. So I need to start fasting too again. And then, like I said, there's health benefits to it as well.
But what if I told you the exact opposite? What if I told you Islam not only plays a minor role in the end times, but can actually be the main character? Okay, so you have seen how these two figures share striking similarities to each other, Islam's Dajjal and the Bible's Messiah. But this leaves us with so many questions as a Christian You may be trying to reconcile this fact. How could Islam's Antichrist actually be Jesus Christ? And as a Muslim,
But it's like I say, I'm a sinner just like everyone else, guys. I'm not better than anybody. Of course, I sin. I got into it with another channel because he cusses a lot, like a lot. Every video he's cussing, and I was just basically like, that's not a good message to put out for babes and stuff. And we got into it, and I'm not sitting there and say I don't cuss, guys. I don't do it online just to. I don't think it should be something out there if you're a Christian channel. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't cuss. I cuss. I mean, it happens, and then I sin, obviously. So, but I mean, there's stuff I can work on, probably just like everybody else, for sure.
you may be wondering the same thing, but for a different reason. You have perhaps been taught that Dajjal will be killed by Jesus himself, thrust through by a spear, upon his return. But this confusion is actually where the heart of the issue lies. The man you see here, who is said to
But also, I'm an open book. I'll tell the truth. I was talking to another channel like 2 years ago. I was having like lust issues, like bad, and I'm open about it. I don't care. I'll talk about it. And I told him straight up, like, dude, I love women. What man doesn't? That's just, we're human. That's part of our nature. So it's just stuff we have to fight against every day. But I'm a truthful person. I don't care. I'm an open book. So
defeat Dajjal in battle is named Isa al-Masih, or in other words, Jesus Christ. What we are looking at in the accounts is none other than a battle between two men.
okay, that's interesting. Stephen said we have Indian friends surnamed Masai. Our previous pastor's surname was also Masai from Pakistan. Apparently, when they convert, they change their surnames to Masai, which means Messiah. Yeah, that makes sense. It would mean Messiah. Oh, that's interesting, though. So are they Christian? Because I don't know a whole. I mean, there's obviously Indians who are Christian, like Toronto Bible Study and stuff. But I would think a big majority of India isn't Christian at all. I know they believe in like Shiva and all those other gods. So are these ones you're talking about here? Are they Christians? Since they're saying the name means Messiah. I've never heard that before. It's pretty interesting.
Who claim to be Jesus. And now you see the mystery unfold. The two greatest religions on earth, which combined account for 53% of the total world's population,
Okay.
both claim to produce a version of Jesus near the end of.
Stephen said these particular ones he was talking about are Seventh-day Adventists. Okay. Yeah, I know there's definitely Christian Indians. There's Christians of all backgrounds in the world. Every race there's Christians in for sure. Yeah, that's good to know. I never knew that. Interesting.
Of time. But what is most interesting is that both accounts warn of the other as being a false Christ. Confused yet? For false Christ and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray.
In fact, if you want, Stefan, tomorrow we can do we'll do a video on is the papacy the beast. We'll get into all that too. I'll have that be the topic tomorrow, and we'll get into all that. We'll go over the prophecy of the popes, all that.
Stray, if possible. Even the elect. Now this seems to be a general warning of a great number of false prophets and false messiahs that will rise up to deceive the flock of God throughout history. And believe me, we have already had plenty of those.
Oh, that weirdo right there. That was that guy who, what was their names? He got everyone to drink that poison Kool-Aid. It was not Jim Jones, but he told everyone a spaceship was coming to pick him up. What were their names? They had like a weird name. He was a cult.
Analysis. The biblical Jesus can be seen given very specific warnings about one specific thing.
Yeah, I got you tomorrow,
If
Stephen.
anyone tells you there he is out in the wilderness, do not go out. Or here he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning flashes from the east unto the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. So the biblical Jesus gives us the first and most specific example of how we can know it's really him, which is found in the.
Whew, can you guys even imagine when he comes back, just the sight of that? That's going to be one of the most powerful things, him coming back. It's going to be insane. If we were lucky enough to see that, guys, that would be insane. I can't imagine. I was watching Toronto's live, I think last night, and this guy named Hyruzen, who always comments on my channel, this genius was on there telling everybody Jesus' second coming already happened in 70 AD, and I was like, oh my god. At least most of Mike's audience wasn't going for it. I was like, well, there's a good thing. At least they're not believing this nonsense. But that was just crazy to me.
The book of Daniel. And I saw one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given dominion, glory, and kingship, that the people of every nation and language should serve him. So not only does the real Messiah come in great power and glory on the clouds of heaven, which every eye will see, but this Messiah will be honored and even worshipped alongside the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The high priest asks, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" "I am, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One, coming on the clouds of heaven."
It's such a trigger for me. Like, she's so nice, but it makes me so uncomfortable. I mean, you did grow up in a chaotic.
And this is what we need to understand. Amidst all of those who will claim to be the Christ near the end of time, we can know for certain.
I don't know if his name is Kairos. I know he goes by Hyruzen when he comments. He comments all kinds of crazy stuff on my posts. But if you're talking about the same person, he goes by Hyruzen on here. He was on Mike's last night, but that's what the guy on Mike's was saying last night, that Christ already came in 70 AD. His second coming already happened, and basically all the events already took place in 70 AD. I guess they call it preterminism or something like that. I don't know. I couldn't tune in after he started saying that. I had to go. I was like, that's just one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Like I said, I'm a fair person, so I'll give it to Toronto. He was like, this is just nonsense, basically. So I'll give it to him for that.
Certain it truly is him, not only by seeing him in majesty on the clouds, but with his status next to the.
I've heard Toronto say before he's not 100% sure that the book of Revelations is literal. So I'll give him that. He stood up to him last night and was like, yeah, that's just nonsense, basically.
The Father. This claim to be the Son of Man is, in fact, a claim to be divine, and even equal with the Father himself. This is why, in the end, they killed him.
Like I said before, I've never really looked into all the different beliefs with inside it, like preterism and all that. So, but that's it. Yeah, that's what they were talking about last night on Mike's show.
"We are not stoning you for any good work," they replied, "but for blasphemy, because you, a mere..."
Which I don't understand how you could even believe that happened in 70 AD, because the Antichrist would have had to have came, the third temple would have had to be rebuilt. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you could believe that. I don't know.
"Mere man, claim to be God. And hopefully now you have made this connection. The Antichrist spirit at work in the world, which will arise at the end of days, will seek to deny Jesus as the divine Son of God, and if possible, lead astray his elect." 600 years of the writing of these words in a barren desert cave on the top of Mount Hira, located deep in Saudi Arabia. A man by the...
Yeah, and you guys have to understand how Muhammad got the Quran. It was basically a demon appeared to him in a cave. He pretty well admitted that. It's crazy. But a demon appeared to him in the cave and gave him the Quran, basically. But then again, he also told his followers to milk camels and drink their urine. Like, you can look this up. It's in their hadiths, guys. I'm not even making this up. He told all his followers to drink camel pee and milk them, and yeah, it's crazy.
Name of Muhammad, who frequented this cave for deep prayer and contemplation of his life, awoke suddenly from...
Not to mention, he was disgusting. Poor Aisha. So wicked.
Sleep, with what he initially described as a demonic presence that clung to him in the night. Recite. Iqra was the command of this being. Recite. Since Muhammad was illiterate and unable to fulfill this command, the being was said to have squeezed...
Yeah, his name is Hyruzen. Hiruzen.
him forcefully 3 times until the end of his endurance. After
Sorry, I'm waiting to get a couple root canals, and I'm basically having to live on this Oragel stuff right now, and it has my mouth so numb right now.
which Muhammad would begin reciting the message in full. Now fleeing down the mountain in terror of his life, the voice shouted down, "O Muhammad, you are the messenger of Allah, and I am the angel Gabriel." And it was after
I think I used too much of it because my whole tongue is like super numb right now.
this single moment in history, this single event, that the world would never be the same. In just a few short years after his first revelation, Muhammad's message would dominate all of Saudi Arabia. Within 100, all of the Middle East. Fast forward to today, nearly 23% of the entire world's population claim to be followers of this message, with adherents spreading all throughout the globe in many different shapes and sizes. But what exactly was this new message that would cause such a ruckus in the Middle East and would spark an entire global movement in such a short and rapid period of time? Well, as we have seen previously,
Also, what you'll never hear a Muslim admit, but the Quran literally says Jesus is God. In one verse, it says only Allah can judge the people. And then later on in the book, it says that in the end days, Jesus is going to come back to judge the people. So that means Jesus is God. Like, they do not like that question right there at all.
it details a Dajjal, or false messiah, that will come near
It also, the Quran also says that the Bible was before it and it's a true book. It says that word for word. So they don't like to talk about that either.
the end of the age to lead astray the followers of Muhammad's message. Such a figure that is described almost identically to the biblical Christ found in the pages of Scripture. But what is at the heart of this new Islamic revelation is actually a claim about the nature of Jesus Christ that, when fully understood, seems to be the exact opposite of what the original Jesus claimed about himself. O people of the Scripture, do not commit excess.
All right, we got a comment. Stefan said, just like Catholicism during the Dark Ages, Islam uses force to convert. Yeah, no doubt. I suspect Buddhism is no different. Yeah, I've heard some pretty crazy stuff about Buddhism, especially back in the day, because a lot of people don't know, but Buddhism goes back just as far as Catholicism. A lot of people don't know that, but I've heard some crazy stuff about the early days of Buddhism for sure.
In your religion, or say about Allah except the truth. The Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, was but a messenger of Allah. So believe in Allah and his messengers. Do not say three, Trinity, desist. It is better for you. Indeed, Allah is but one God. Exalted is he above having a son.
You see, Satan never quit lying.
So this Jesus, or Messiah of the Quran, is far different from the man we saw in Daniel, where the Son of Man sits at the right hand of the Father and claims to be equal with him, or even the man seen in the Gospels, as he is condemned to death for blasphemy and claiming to be equal with God. No, this Jesus was only a messenger, a prophet. In fact, this verse actually commands that any Christian or people of the Scripture that claims the
Well, here's a challenge for any Muslim who sees this. Explain to me why it says Jesus is God in the Quran. It literally says only Allah can judge the people, but then it says Jesus will come back to judge the people. So if only Allah can judge the people, explain that one.
word Trinity, three within the verse, should stop immediately upon even saying the word. And there you have it, a direct denial of the Trinity, which was the foundational warning we saw previously. So these words mark true in the most ultimate sense.
I had this whole Discord mad one time. I posted a meme of this Muslim guy running and a camel biting his butt, and I captioned it when Muhammad found out he was milking a male camel. They were so pissed off. People were laughing so hard though, but yeah, they weren't happy about that one.
This is the Antichrist, he that denies the Father and the Son. But what does this actually mean? Does this mean Isa al-Masih, or the Islamic Jesus, is the Antichrist? Well, we're not quite there yet. We must first come to understand the other and far more crucial difference between the figures in order to unlock the mystery. Not only does the Quran directly deny the divine status of the Christ as revealed in Scripture, but it even denies his original mission. For God so loved.
It's because the Quran came from Satan. Like Muhammad admits that he got it from a demon in a cave, guys. Like what? It's all right there. He admits it himself. He got it from a demon in a cave. It's from Satan.
Of the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him may not perish, but have eternal life. Indeed, this foundational truth was a mystery, kept secret for thousands of years, and the prophets themselves look forward to the day that the
Stephen said, "Have you ever thought how every eye will see Christ when he returns, especially since the earth is round?" Yeah, I personally don't believe it's a round earth. Just because of scripture, it says there's a firmament above us, and then it says angels were sent to the four corners of the earth. I don't know how you get corners on the globe personally, but it literally says he sent angels to the four corners of the earth. So I don't personally think it's a globe myself. I don't really think it matters what shape it is. I mean, in the long term of things. He said, "I have Discord, but I haven't been there in ages, and now I've forgotten my password." Yeah, you're not missing too much. I
mystery
got a Discord for my channel, but I don't really. I go on there maybe like once a month myself.
would be revealed.
I mainly have it so when they do ban my channel, because I'm telling you now, it's eventually going to happen. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. So that way people will be able to find me again. That's the only reason I have a Discord, so they can find my new channel when I do get banned.
This message was kept secret for centuries and generations past, but now has been revealed to God's people. And although John 3:16 gives us the summary of what he did for the world, it does not stop there. Many people have seen these words etched on the back of their favorite coffee mugs, but they fail to read the remainder of the verse. God sent his Son into the world not to judge the world, but to save the world through him. Anyone who does not believe in him is already judged for not believing in God's one and only Son. And the judgment is this: the light has come into the world, but the men love the darkness rather than the light, because their works were evil. How are these things possible? Nicodemus asked. You are a respectable Jewish teacher, and yet you do not understand these things. Jesus replied, the Son of Man has come down from
Kind of weird. So if he judged them based on their evil works, guys, what do you think he does for people who do good works? And all you gotta do is read James 2. We can obviously we can't work our way into heaven, but James 2 tells us Abraham was justified in his work. Our works prove our faith, guys. Like works aren't a bad thing like all these other channels make it out to be and call people works-based heretics and damned. And it tells us in James 2 we're supposed to do works. But we can't work our way into heaven, obviously. But we should do works to help people out to be a good person. So these people, they take it overboard with works.
heaven. And as Moses lifted up the bronze snake on the pole in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up, so that everyone who believes in him.
Yeah, for real, Stephen. Stephen said you're not saved if you believe the earth is flat. Don't you believe the Bible? Just kidding. I don't think it I don't necessarily know if it's flat. I think it might be more of like a bowl shape. That would make sense to me. Because if you look how he described the firmament, he said above the firmament is water. I think that's why the sky is blue like it is. There's water above the firmament. And then if you think back to the flood, the easiest way to flood it is if it's like a bowl shape. You just open the firmament and the water above pours in and floods and it fills up. But that's just my opinion. Like I said, it doesn't really matter what shape it is, really. I mean, it's just something fun to think about. But like I said, I don't know how you get four corners on a globe. And how does water stay on a spinning globe? I don't know. It might very well be a globe too. I mean, it could be.
will have eternal life.
Capacitor course check is okay.
The Son of Man, the one.
You know, this isn't a very long video. Maybe we'll get to the Catholicism one after this, and maybe tomorrow we'll do a like a firmament video and explore all the different theories on the shape of the earth and stuff.
Equal with the Father, must die and be lifted up on that cross in order to make forgiveness of sins possible. That is the heart of the Christian gospel, nay, the gospel of Jesus himself. He made peace with everything in heaven and on earth by means of Christ's blood on the cross. You were his enemies, separated by your evil thoughts and actions. Yet now, he has reconciled you to himself through the death of Christ in his physical body. That is the key. Did you catch it? In his physical body. It is abundantly clear that in order to believe in the Son of Man, you must actually believe that he did in fact die on that cross, physically died, and was physically raised.
Yeah, there's a couple channels out there who they call it the crossless gospel. There's a few channels I've seen talking about that you don't really have to believe. Me myself, I personally believe that because he did die on the cross. So why wouldn't you? I mean, that's just weird to me. But I mean, yeah, there's so many topics that are just divisive inside Christianity, and this is one of them for sure. Me myself, I personally believe the cross. So, but there are channels out there who don't, and it's called the crossless gospel.
And here is where we come full circle, folks, because not only did that message given by Muhammad,
because we know 100% to be the truth, he died on the cross. So I just don't understand why you wouldn't believe that. So I don't know, but to each his own.
deny the Son of God in his original claim, but it even denied the fact that he died on that cross. And speaking about the death of Jesus, they say, we killed the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, but they neither killed him nor crucified him. It was only made to appear so. Even those who argue for this crucifixion are in doubt. They have no knowledge whatsoever, only making assumptions. They certainly did not kill him. Rather, Allah raised him up to himself. So the word.
How can you kill God? Come on. You can't kill God, guys.
Of John
He might have killed his flesh, his body.
3:16 are nothing but a lie. For according to this verse, Jesus escaped the cross by the hand of Allah, and it was made to appear that he died to his believers.
Yeah, that's such garbage right there. I mean, first of all, guys, the Quran came 600 years after the Bible, so that's a long amount of time in between.
God did not love the world.
For me, when I'm looking for an answer to something, I go back to the original information. So that's a long time period in between 600 years.
For he did not send his only Son, that whoever believes in him may not have eternal life. That was the message given to Muhammad.
And basically, if nobody knows how Islam came about, it came about through Ishmael. When him and his mom were kicked out into the desert, that's basically through Ishmael's lineage became the Quran, and Islam became. That's where it all started, was when Ishmael was kicked. It didn't start when he was kicked out. It came hundreds of years later, but it came. They say Muhammad came through Ishmael's lineage, basically. And that's how the Islam started.
By that angel, that day.
That's why they claim that they're the true religion. They say that Ishmael was the true son, which, I mean, obviously he wasn't, because, yeah, we won't get into all that.
But another important message was given by the exact same angel nearly 600 years prior to Mary. In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth. Gabriel appeared to her and said, "Greetings, favored woman, the Lord is with you." Confused and disturbed, Mary tried to think what the angel could mean. "Do not be afraid, Mary," the angel told her, "for you have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be called Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his ancestor David, and he will reign over Israel. His kingdom will never end. So did Gabriel change his mind about the nature of the Christ when he revealed himself to Muhammad later on in history? I mean, you couldn't get a more stark contrast from both encounters. On his first arrival,
That's the other thing too, because I think because of Catholicism, Mary gets a bad rap in a lot of Christian circles. I've heard so many horrible things said about her, that she's not in heaven with Jesus and she's not special. And I'm like, guys, how she's the mother of God. How is she not a special person? You think she's not gonna be sitting up there with Jesus in heaven? Like, that's just crazy to me. Like, I think she gets a bad rap because of Catholicism in a lot of circles for sure. Like, how could she not be up there with him as his mother? Like, that's just crazy to me. I don't understand that.
he proclaims he will be called Son of the Most High, and on his second, exalted as God from having a son. Gabriel revealed himself to Mary in a peaceful manner, and she is almost immediately comforted, while Muhammad was suffocated to the point of exhaustion and fled down the mountain in panic of his life. We need to really look at these messages given by both accounts and decide which one was the truth and which one is the lie, for they both cannot be true. Just as we must decide which Jesus is the correct one, the one revealed in Scripture or the one revealed in the Quran.
And obviously, we know which is the real one, guys. Not the fake Jesus of the Quran. Definitely not.
And now, perhaps you are ready for the cold hard truth, because according to the foundational Islamic sources, amidst his great war, or some might say, rebellion, against the Jewish Messiah and his Jewish followers, the Islamic Jesus is said to be the very one who will lead a great revolution, very similar to the one
And they say that the Dajjal is supposed to be blind in his right eye.
seen in the book of Revelation.
Which, interestingly, could fit the mortal head wound from the Bible. I mean, if he were to be shot in his right eye, I guess, and survive or come back. So that's why I think at minimum the Islam is going to have a major role in end times, and at maximum the Antichrist could possibly end up being Muslim. But either way, I think they're going to play a huge role. I think they have to.
Within this hadith, we see exactly what Islam teaches about the return of its Christ. He will descend to the earth, he will break the cross, kill swine, and abolish jizya. Allah will perish all religions except Islam. The first of these actions when the Muslim Jesus returns to the earth is described as breaking the cross.
And that's the other reason I feel like he'll probably be Muslim, is because it says anybody who doesn't worship him will be beheaded. If you look in the world right now, the only country in the world who still does beheading as capital punishment is Saudi Arabia. That's the only place in the world they still carry out capital punishment with beheadings. So that's always been interesting to me.
Which is universally understood to mean that he will seek to abolish Christianity in the world. Jesus, the son of Mary, will soon descend among the Muslims as a just judge. Jesus will therefore judge according to.
So that's not, let me clarify that. That's the only where governments still carry out beheadings. Obviously, in all the other Muslim countries, the Muslims behead people. But I'm saying the actual governments put them to death and behead them still in Saudi Arabia. Like how we'll put someone in the electric chair in America. Over in Saudi Arabia, they just cut their head off, which has always been fascinating to me. That lines up with scripture right there. Because the Saudi Arabia are the only ones doing it capital punishment, and Islam is the only ones who really do it anywhere.
To the law of Islam. All people will be required to embrace Islam, and there will be no other alternative. This Jesus, when he arrives on the scene, will break every cross in sight.
Well, there will be an alternative, guys. We lay our lives down. It's not, I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not going to be, it's not hard. I mean, it is what it is when it gets to that point. Oh well, kill me. I mean, seriously, who cares at that point? It's going to be, I mean, it's not going to be a hard decision for me. I'm cut my head off, guys. Thank you.
And will denounce any church or person that believes in their crucified and risen Messiah. The second of these actions that the Muslim Jesus will perform is something known as killing the swine. Now, this is another term that is recognized unanimously as meaning he will lead the battle and perhaps even genocide against the Jewish people in the last days.
I've heard recently they refer to the swine as Jewish and Christian people. So it's probably a combination of both of us.
Now, this might be surprising or even offensive to some, but it is found in the most reliable sources dating back to the time of Muhammad. The Prophet said, the last hour would not come until the Muslims will fight against the Jews, and the Muslims would kill them, until the Jews would hide behind a stone or tree. And a stone or a tree would say, Muslim, servant of Allah, there is a Jew behind me. Come and kill him.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Talking rocks. Oh, Muhammad said some of the dumbest stuff. Literally talking rocks, guys. A rock's going to talk to him and tell him where the people are hiding. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. Oh, my goodness. That's not even some of the craziest stuff he said. He said some of the dumbest stuff that makes no sense. Like I said, like he told all his followers to drink camel urine. Like, you can look this up. I'm not even joking. It's one of the hadiths. They're told to drink camel urine and milk camels. And then something about the moon. The moon one was the really crazy one. I forgot what he said about the moon, but it was something so stupid.
A famous Islamic scholar details exactly what he thinks this verse means. The battle with the Jews will surely come.
If you want to understand what I'm saying, the papacy and pope is the beast/Antichrist, you have to start with a 1260-day prophecy. Yeah, I got you.
The decisive
We'll check it out after this video. There's only a few minutes left in this video.
Muslim victory is coming without a doubt, and the Prophet spoke about it in more than one hadith. The day of resurrection will not come without the victory of the Muslims over the descendants of the monkeys and pigs and their annihilation.
Hey, today I'm going to introduce an extremely exciting game to you. Imagine that
Now this leaves us with his third and most mysterious action, abolishing the jizya tax. Now this is very important to understand. During the
Hey, Stephen, so you're talking about halfway, I believe you're talking about halfway through the tribulation, right? The 1260-day prophecy? I think that's what you're talking about. I could be off. And he says, does that make Bear Grylls a Muslim? He drunk camel urine on TV. Yeah, for real. I saw him do that. I was like, that is so nasty. I mean, if you're in a real legit survival situation and you have no choice, I mean, urine you can survive on it, but oh man, who would want to do that? But if it's life and death situation, I mean, okay. But just to do it that's gross. That's disgusting. But let me know if I was right. I think you're talking about the halfway point through the tribulation.
time of Muhammad, if a Muslim Arab army
Yeah, and whoever else is watching, if you ever have anything you want me to go over on the channel, just leave a comment. I'll literally cover anything you guys want.
conquered your land and you did not wish to convert to Islam, you could pay a tax to your Muslim overlord. Otherwise, you would have to convert to Islam by force. This tax was considered religiously tolerant in some ways, as it allowed Jews and Christians and any other religion to exist within Islam's borders, as long as they paid the tax. This will not be so when the Muslim Jesus returns. When he leads the conquest of the world under the banner of Islam, he will abolish the option of this tax outright, and thus, all non-believers in Islam will have one of two options when conquered: convert or die. These three options, breaking the cross, killing the swine, and abolishing the jizya tax, all point to one devastating reality: forced conversion. In his quest to subject the world to Allah on his return, Isa al-Masih will be the primary enforcing agent of Islam. and its primary executioner. He will ultimately control the economy.
See, and a lot of people probably don't know that there's a Almighty army today, all over the Middle East. They wear all black and they have a black flag with a sword on it. It's called the Almighty Army, and they've been getting bigger and bigger the last few years, which is pretty crazy. So I don't know. A lot of this just fits lines up for me. It could be. I mean, it could be someone in Islam and someone like a pope. The pope, one of the popes could end up being like the false prophet or something who gives his power to like a Muslim Antichrist or a Jewish Antichrist or somebody. Because we got to remember, it says the first beast gave all of his power and authority to the second beast. So it very could end up being someone from Islam and a pope together. Yeah, that would make sense too. Because how else are you gonna unite everybody to take the mark of the beast if it's just one or the other? See, for me, yeah, see, if it ended up just being the Vatican and Catholicism, there's no way the Muslims are going to go for that. They're going to fight to the death no matter what. But if you have someone inside Islam and the Pope, both the false prophet and Antichrist working together, then you're going to be able to get Islam to get on board with it, and vice versa. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. We don't teach a specific 3.5 year or 7 year tribulation, since we believe Daniel's 70 weeks are finished. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about when in Revelations, when it talks about when the Jews flee to the wilderness, when they're basically being attacked.
Economy of his conquered lands, which according to Islamic doctrine would be the entire world. After abolishing the Christian faith, leading the war on the Jews, and controlling the economy, Isa al-Masih will establish the New World Order. But if you thought the Muslim Jesus was the main character in this grand...
We teach the 70 weeks, 490 years started the same time as the 2300 days. The 1260 started 538 AD and ended 1798 AD. Feast has some good stuff on this. Okay. Yeah, Stefan's Seventh-day Adventist. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we'll pull up some Feast after this.
grand Islamic epic, you would be dead wrong. See, Isa al-Masih is really only said to play the supporting role in the Hadiths. Perhaps that is surprising to you, as the Jesus of the Bible is described as the Alpha and the Omega, everlasting Father, the beginning and the end. But the reality is, the Islamic Jesus is said to only be a prophet. The false prophet. Revelation 13 details the rise of the false prophet.
I mean, that could be right there. I mean, the Antichrist could end up being a pope, and then the Mahdi could end up being a false prophet. That would make sense for me right there.
Relation to the great rebellion and war against Christians and Jews taking place under the authority of the devil. Then I saw
or vice versa. The Pope could be the false prophet. See, something like that would make a lot more sense than anything, because you would need one from each side to unite the people to take the mark and stuff. It would seem like, because if not, one side just going to keep fighting the other to the death.
second beast coming out of the earth. It had two horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. This beast or person that rises up is described as a lamb, which in biblical terminology is always used in reference to Jesus Christ. Behold, the Lamb of God, who takes away the sins of the world. Fall on us, hide us from the wrath of the Lamb. This influential...
Yeah, it could be a counterfeit Jesus too. That could very well be a possibility. A guy pops up in the Middle East saying he's Jesus.
A person will rise up as if he were in fact Jesus Christ, but in reality, he will speak and act like a dragon. The Islamic world, and even those who do not hold to the warnings of the original Jesus, he will appear to be the real authentic Jesus Christ, having returned to correct the world that he was not the divine Son of God, nor had he died for the sins of the world. He will look like a lamb, but will speak like a dragon. Beware of false prophets that come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravening wolves. The Islamic Jesus, in his claim to be the real authentic Lamb-like Christ, will rally his nearly 2 billion followers to his cause and will be so convincing to the non-Islamic world that many will actually believe that he was not.
I mean, really, these are just thought-provoking videos, just something to think about. I just like to learn new stuff and look outside the box on different subjects.
The divine Son of God, nor had he died for the sins of the world. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another, and many false prophets will arise and lead.
Like I said, we could all be just completely 100% wrong, and it could be something we never even thought of, that is the Antichrist or AI or an alien, or I mean, it could be anything. I just look at stuff like this as something to do and just research and stuff like that.
Many astray, and because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved.
Gabapentin is bringing you closer to amputation. These are 3 symptoms that are signaling that you could be close to losing your foot.
Now this beast...
But just like you said, Stefan, earlier, you said something about you're open to changing your mind. I'm the same way. I'm completely open to having my opinion changed. If someone can do it, I've always been that way too. I think we have to have an open mind and live that way. You can't always just be like, I'm 100% right on everything. That's impossible. So I think we have to have an open mind and be able to change our opinions. If someone shows us like conclusively at good evidence, be like, okay, not just be stubborn, just to be like, no, I'm holding on to my opinion to be right. But I'm the same way. If someone can show me I'm wrong, I'll happily be like, yeah, I think you're right and I'm wrong.
Described in Revelation will also seek to mimic the miracle-working signs of the original Jesus to deceive the world. It performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of people. And because of the signs it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast, it deceived the inhabitants of the earth. Deception, false miracles, forced conversion. The false prophet in Revelation is the very one who will deceive the world. And indeed,
Yeah, that's actually probably pretty realistic that they'd be working together like that, both sides. You'd have the false prophet on one side and the Antichrist on the other. That actually makes really, really good sense to me.
the warning given by the biblical Jesus speaks.
Which, if that was the case, I would probably say the Pope would probably make a better false prophet. Because I've always thought the false prophet would be a religious person. I've always felt that he's probably going to be a religious person. But it could be vice versa too. The Pope could be the Antichrist and maybe a false prophet come out of Islam. Or they both could come out of Rome. Who knows?
It's loud and clear.
I know, like I said earlier, St. Malachi's prophecy he gave of the popes. I know Francis is number 112 on the list, so there's no popes after him. Or no, I think there was. I think the one after him is supposed to take the name Peter, and then that's the last pope after Francis. He'll take the name Peter.
So if somebody tells you, look, the Messiah is out in the desert, don't bother to go and look, or look.
Which a lot of people thought it was Francis did take the name Peter, because he took the name Francis of Assisi, whose name was Di Pietro, or Peter. So a lot of people think he did take the name Peter, just not out in the open.
Here he is. Do not believe it. It is for all these devastatingly similar realities that the Bible, when speaking of the coming false prophet.
I mean, and really, Francis isn't even a legit pope. He's an anti-pope. There's still another pope alive that was in before him. So that doesn't happen. Popes don't step down. They die in office. So, I mean, technically, he's an anti-pope. He's not even a real pope. But I knew when he came in, I knew when a Jesuit came in, I was like, oh, that's all bad. I know what the Jesuit order is, so I knew it was all bad when they announced the Jesuit Pope.
May in fact be speaking of the Islamic Jesus. But this mystery continues to thicken. See, the book of Revelation describes the primary goal of the false prophet in the midst of his global campaign to convert the world by force is actually to lead the world into the submission and subjugation of the Antichrist. So this leaves us with the final question of this video. Who then is the Antichrist? It exercised all the authority of the first beast on its behalf and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. Now, this term worship in the verse is actually translated as proskuneo, which in the Greek is most likely used for submission. Take, for instance, this same verse in Revelation, where the biblical Jesus is speaking to his church. Behold, I will make those of the synagogue of Satan who say that they are Jews and are not, but lie. Behold, I will make them come and bow down before your feet, proskuneo, and they will learn that I have loved you. Clearly, he was not telling.
Yeah, interesting. So, I mean, it could end up being what I was saying earlier, Stefan, like a forced Sunday law. That could end up being, that's what a lot of people have thought that for years, that that's going to end up being the mark, would be a forced Sunday law where the Vatican would basically force everyone on the planet to go to church on Sunday. But there's a lot of interesting theories out there for sure.
Telling his church that the synagogue of Satan will bow before them in godlike worship. No, the term proskuneo here is used to describe submission to his church. In the same way, while many modern Bibles translate proskuneo.
Also, a lot of people think the mark of the beast is the Islam symbol they wear on their head and their hand, because the symbol actually translates into 666 also. I think it's called Bismillah, but it translates into 666, and they wear it on their forehead and on their right arm.
Within Revelation 13:12, as worship for a god, it is far more likely a term used to submit to a kingly ruler or authority. And indeed, it is the very role of the false prophet to lead the world into the total submission and subjugation of the Antichrist. It is no wonder then that the Islamic Jesus, in wielding major influence over his followers, seeking to fight Dajjal and forcibly converting the world, that he will seek in a moment of military conquest to submit the world into the service of a single man. And this man is known as the 12th Imam.
Yeah, they also call him the hidden imam.
The Mahdi.
Yeah, interesting video. Let me show you guys this picture I was talking about real quick. Then we'll look up that Walter Veith. So this is called Bismillah right here. And basically it it equals out to 666, the symbol right here. And this is what they wear on their they wear the headband with the sword here, and this is the 666 part when it's reversed like this. And they also wear it on their right hand. So I've heard the theory that people say this could be the mark of the beast too, and them forcing people to submit to Islam. But you never know. I mean, they're both interesting theories for sure. All right, so let's look up Walter Veith. You don't know the title of a specific video, do you, Stefan? Or should I just type in Walter Veith 1200? Does he have one for the 1260-day prophecy? Is it in? That's not Walter Veith though. Okay, yeah, I'm just kind of looking through. I see a bunch for the 1260 prophecy. I don't see any from Walter Veith himself. Here's the 2300-day prophecy from Veith. Yeah, I just need to know what to type in to find it. Right. I don't see anything specific with the 1260 prophecy from these. I see a 2300 day prophecy. Guess we can check that out.
Meet Asana, a work management platform that helps companies get more done and save more time. Teams can stay
Okay.
connected while they track updates and visualize timelines. Asana, a smarter way to work. Try it for free today at asana.com.
What is the 2300-day prophecy? What is its significance?
Well, as I said in my introductory remarks, the 2300-day prophecy is the prophecy that we find in the book of Daniel. Now, the book of Daniel is one that was very, very important to the Reformation. And it's very interesting that Martin Luther, he decided that when he started to translate the Old Testament, that the very first book that he would translate because the people needed it was the book of Daniel. He didn't start with the book of Genesis, as would be normal. He started with the book of Daniel because the people needed it. And the book of Daniel played a pivotal role in the Reformation. The study of Daniel chapter 7, well, all of the chapters in Daniel, but particularly Daniel chapter 7, which gives such a detailed description of the little horn power that would arise out of the fourth kingdom, which is the divided Roman Empire.
Yeah, it says it would rise up between the three horns and pluck them from their roots.
This power was indeed the papal system. And this led to that rift in Christianity, which today is termed the Protestant Reformation. And it's a very apt name because they protested against a power that had taken to itself prerogatives that belonged to Christ alone. Now, those prophecies, of course, continue to the end of time. And they formed the key to the book of Revelation. Now, people said that the book of Revelation is a closed book. I'm going around about in this now, but we're getting there. The book of Revelation is a closed book, but the reformers proved that it was not a closed book. They didn't understand it all, but that which was relevant for their time, they understood. So, for example, Revelation chapter 13, the first beast of Revelation, all the reformers were very clear upon this point that the criteria in that book matched those of the little horn, and they proceeded up to the point where they could. But there are prophecies in the book of Daniel which they could not comprehend because the Bible actually says in the book of Daniel regarding these prophecies that they are sealed until the end times. And the prophecy that is sealed is the 2,300-day prophecy. In other words, it couldn't be fully understood until you get to the end times, not the end of time, the end times. And that period, again, is defined in Daniel chapter 12 as the end of the 1,260-day period. In other words, the period of papal supremacy. When that period came to an end, then these prophecies would start to be unraveled. So after that magical date, 1798, when that period of papal dominance came to an end, there was this excitement, this new excitement about the book of Daniel, which grew worldwide. And out of that movement, eventually, we get the Millerite movement, which started to make very specific claims as to what the 2,300-day prophecy was all about. And they concluded that it ended with the coming of Christ. But as I said before, their conclusion was incorrect. It actually pertained to the cleansing of the sanctuary. And for that, you needed to understand other portions of the Bible, the Levitical system, the sanctuary message. And this had to be understood before those prophecies could be expounded.
All right, so what I'm reading, the Millerite movement, they believe Jesus' return would occur in 1843 and 1844, it looks like. So do they believe that Stephen, do they believe that Armageddon and all that stuff will occur like in Revelations? Or do they believe like is it a complete different belief system?
And this is where this remnant church comes in.
Like in the end of times, they think there will be the battle of Armageddon and the fight against the Antichrist and all that. I've never really looked too far into it.
God will not give a revelation and only allow us to understand a portion of it. Throughout history, the portions of prophecies that pertain to the future were not understood by the prophets of the time. They had a look into the future, but didn't understand what it was all about. Those prophecies were understood when they were fulfilled. And so you have a portion in the Bible which was not understood until this close of, or this time period, which is called the end times. Now, in the book of Revelation, you don't only have chapter 13, you have chapters 14 right up till the end of the book of Revelation. And in chapter 14, there is a list of a very specific message that must be given to the world.
Oh, okay. So as I'm reading, they talk about Ellen White and all them. That was that lady. Somebody was talking about her in one of the videos we did or something, huh? Ellen White. I think that was a lady. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to read about all this later.
It's called the Three Angels' Messages. And that would only be available after the unsealing of a specific prophecy. We read that in Revelation chapter 10, where a little book is closed or sealed in the hand and has to be unsealed. And that was the 2,300-day prophecy. And when that had been unsealed, and when the sanctuary message.
Oh, okay. So as I'm reading, I didn't know that's why they call you Seventh-day Adventist, because of the Sabbath. That makes sense, actually. Duh. Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. In short, we teach Armageddon will be at his second coming. Okay. Yeah. So pretty much the same thing, same as most of us believe. Armageddon will be at the second coming.
Started to become clearer. That is when the end time message, the three angels' messages, could be presented to the world. Now you have to ask yourself a question. If there is a very specific message that is to be given to the world with a loud voice, then is there a church in the world today that actually gives that message? And you can search high and low, my brother and my sisters. You can.
Oh, I didn't know that's how the Jehovah's Witness came about. Okay. So they basically branched off from the Advent Church. Okay. Charles Taze Russell. I knew Charles Taze Russell was the founder. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Search the world from the east to the west.
My bad, guys. I was reading about this militarism, and I was just reading. Sorry.
From the north to the south, you will
got
find
distracted.
only one organization. that arises at the right time as the consequence of the unsealing of a prophecy in the book of Daniel, and that preaches the three angels' messages. And that is the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Whether we like it or not, that is one of the signs that this church has a very specific prophetic message. So without the 2,300-day prophecy, we wouldn't have a time frame when these messages would be going into the world. And since exactly according to that prophetic timetable, these messages went into the world, we must be able to understand who the remnant is that is preaching that message.
Yeah, okay. That's definitely interesting for sure. I'm gonna finish reading up on that later. Let's look up real quick let's look at the prophecy of the popes. Because I know at the end of his prophecy, it ends with basically the Pope walking over the Vatican's burned down and the Pope walking over cardinals' bodies and stuff. I know that's the end of the prophecy. Here's one saying it's going to happen in 2025.
If I were to die tomorrow, I'd want every
good.
diabetic, including you, to know this. Fed up with headaches, blurry vision, and hours.
As soon as Pope Francis entered the church, everyone was shocked because of the prophecy of one very important saint.
He said, I think it's in Hosea or Zephaniah. Okay.
Saint Malachi. Now, before you dismiss this as just another prediction, what if I...
Is it pronounced Saint Malachi? I guess it might be, huh? Because Malachi has an I in it. I never knew that. I guess all I had to do is read. I guess that wouldn't be. I guess it is Malachi because Malachi has an I, so. Okay.
I told you that there's a lot of new evidence that this ancient prophecy is playing out right now. Sounds eerie, right? So let's understand what the prophecy is all about, what has been predicted, and how accurate it is. Now, the current Pope of the Catholic Church, who goes by the name Pope Francis, raised quite a stir among prophecy enthusiasts. They are claiming that St. Malachi's vision...
Yeah, he took the name from Francis of Assisi, whose actual real name was Di Pietro, or Peter.
...pointed straight at this year, dubbing this new Pope as Peter the Roman, the final piece of the...
Yeah, because that would be the last Pope. He said Peter the Roman, and Di Pietro means Peter. And his last name is Bergoglio, his parents are 100% Italian, so he's a Roman, Peter the Roman.
Prophetic puzzle. Pope Francis, originally known as Jorge Maria Bergoglio from Argentina, has raised questions. Despite his chosen name, some believe his...
Yeah, Stephen said, I've heard about the Black Pope, but I'm not sure what to make of it. There's been a few Black Popes. Yeah, from all the research I've heard, I know they definitely hold a lot of power inside the Vatican for sure. But yeah, I agree with you there. I'm not quite sure what to make of that either. But I've heard about the Black Pope for sure. Can't remember the one's name before this new one, but he was the Black Pope for a good 15 years before this new one. That's actually a good live to do. I'll do that maybe the day after tomorrow. We'll look at the Black Pope. That's actually a really good topic.
Argue that hidden within his birth name is a connection to Peter.
Really, we could spend a couple days going down the whole Vatican rabbit hole.
And get this, they're also making a case that he's a true Roman because his family has Italian roots, even though he's from Argentina. And this is where it starts.
I mean, his last name is Bergoglio. Even though he's in Argentina, he's from 100% Roman parents. That would make him Roman. Italian's Roman.
It get really interesting. Let's travel back in time to figure out where this prophecy comes from. The prophecy of the popes is like a list of 112 mysterious sayings in Latin that tries to tell who the Catholic popes will be, starting with Celestine II. It showed up in 1595, introduced by a monk named Arnold Wyan. He claimed that it came from visions of Saint Malachi, who was an archbishop in the 12th century. The story goes like this.
Yeah, and then I believe this prophecy got lost for a few hundred years, and then someone in the Vatican library had found it falling behind, like he felt it was behind something, but it had got lost for like a few hundred years.
Malachi supposedly had a vision during a trip to Rome that revealed the names of every pope, 112 in total, from his time until the end of days. Think of it like a series of popes, and we're now reaching the last chapter. He wrote down these visions.
He didn't name them by their names, he named them by their coat of arms.
Mysterious verses, sealed them in Vatican's secret archives, and they remained hidden for centuries. Then along came Arnold Wyan, who uncovered this ancient manuscript just in time for a holy conclave in the 16th century. Of all the ancient prophecies in the Roman Catholic Church, Saint Malachi's prophecy stands out as one of the most discussed subjects that has captivated the minds of many historians. While some people question if his predictions are for real, others find them super interesting and surprisingly accurate. And here is where you might want to pay very close attention. According to him, the 112th Pope would be the last one. His words get intense, predicting a tough time for the Holy Roman Church. His prophecy for this year ominously states, "In the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit Peter the Roman, who will pastor his sheep through many tribulations. And when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people." The end. So, are we nearing the climax of Saint Malachi's prophecy? Well, it sure appears so. But the million-dollar question is, why is the reign of Pope Francis supposed to end? Now, this is where it gets really shocking. Okay, so let me fill you in. He's the first Jesuit Pope, taking on the role on March 13th, 2013. However, Pope Francis is not without controversy. He holds a unique position as one of the most controversial bishops of Rome in the history.
Yeah, there were some pretty crazy stories in South America from his time there. Like, allegedly his name coming up in like a genocide that happened there, basically in Argentina. There are some pretty crazy stories about this man from his past, for sure.
History of the Roman Catholic Church. Why, you ask? Since he took the throne, he's been dealing with a lot of messy stuff in the church. One big issue was the scandal of clergy sexually abusing children and the church covering it up. Not good. But this scandal came into the spotlight in a big way in 2018 when a report came out about abuse in Pennsylvania. Plus, he had upset.
He didn't do nothing about it. Come on. Stefan says some Adventist pastor in Italy claimed Bergoglio's brother is an SDA. There's no proof, though. Some Adventists, like many other Christians, are driven by fear. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't surprise me.
Set some people with his ideas. He wrote a book called Amoris Laetitia, and that got him in hot water. It's about letting people who got married, then divorced, and married again have Holy Communion. But not everyone in the church agrees with that. On August 11th, 2017, a bunch of 40 Catholic clergy and scholars said,
Yeah, see, in my opinion, Vatican II, it completely, I mean, Vatican II brought in so much crap into the church. Yeah, my views when I was Catholic, my views line pre-Vatican II Council.
Sent a 25-page letter, basically a big complaint to Pope Francis. They accused him of spreading ideas that go against the core beliefs of the church. They said his words in a document called Amoris Laetitia and other stuff he said and did were effectively spreading wrong beliefs about marriage, moral life, and the sacraments. And it didn't stop there. On May 18th, 2018, CNN reported that a bunch of bishops in Chile quit their jobs over a scandal involving sexual abuse. It was a big deal and added to the troubles the church was all.
I could show a video of, he was a Catholic exorcist, Father Malachi Martin. Actually, I shouldn't even say father. He's not. We got one father. He's in heaven. That was one of the reasons I left Catholicism too, is that was a major issue for me. So really, he was an exorcist, Malachi Martin. He did an interview. He did multiple interviews, but he said for 100% they were doing black mass rituals inside the Vatican. I believe he said it on the Art Bell show. It was an old. This was back in the day in the 90s. It was an old call-in radio show named Art Bell. But yeah, he said word for word they were doing black masses inside the Vatican.
Already facing. Now let's rewind a bit to October 19th, 2013, and you might want to listen closely here. A Catholic bishop named Bernard Fellet, who is more of a traditionalist, gave a warning. He said that Pope Francis was causing the church to decline and might be signaling the start of something really bad, like the age of the Antichrist. That's a pretty serious warning, don't you think? But let's not forget the other side of the coin. People really like Pope Francis.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful statement he made.
Because he's nice, he cares about the poor, and he talks to people from different religions. He also cares about the environment, and a lot of people around the world like him. A World Values Survey from February 2014 showed that many people think he brings people together in a good way. But some people in the Catholic Church don't agree with some things he teaches, so there's a bit of disagreement. But hold on, one of the most devastating...
Here's the thing, all the Catholics I know, I still have family members who are Catholic, they do not like the man at all. They think he's wicked, and none of the Catholics I talk to can stand him. They don't like him at all.
Devastating blows came in the form of an
and they don't believe he's a real pope either.
11-page letter which hit the scene on August 25th, 2018.
Like I said earlier, popes die in office. They don't step down. He's an anti-pope.
This letter was from Archbishop Carlo Maria Viganò, who used to be the Pope Nuncio to the United States. In this letter, Archbishop Viganò accused Pope Francis of being neglectful in his responsibilities to the Church, specifically...
I don't know, just their eyes to me. They all look like those specific type of people that hide inside the Vatican, if you catch my drift.
Specifically concerning a guy named Theodore McCarrick. The accusation was that, despite knowing about sexual abuse allegations against McCarrick, both the Vatican and Pope Francis didn't take proper...
Stephen said in V's testimony, he told how his local Catholic priest basically performed magic in his house to get rid of demons. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't getting rid of them, if he was conjuring more up. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
...for action. Moreover, the letter didn't hold back. It even called for him to step down from his role as Pope. And here we are, fast forward to today. The drama around Pope Francis doesn't just stay in the Vatican City. It's spilled all over the internet and YouTube. People are buzzing with charges and accusations, and it's becoming increasingly evident. It's not just regular guys on the internet, priests, bishops.
Yeah, I'm telling you, go look up Francis's time in Argentina and the accusations against him, if you can still find them. They were crazy accusations, like tying him with like the genocide that happened and stuff, and it was pretty crazy. You might be able to still find them on there.
Cardinals and
probably just Google it.
Lay scholars are becoming vocal critics of the Pope. The Church is divided, with some people, especially from conservative groups and news outlets like Church Militant and the Remnant TV, strongly disagreeing with Francis and his more modern ideas. Now, you might be wondering, do any of these crises and accusations have anything to do with St. Malachi's prophecy? Well, that's an excellent question, and this is where it gets even more shocking. St. Malachi's prophecy, as we've explored, contains cryptic descriptions of the popes. Some guys have matched these descriptions to the popes who came before Pope Francis with surprising...
Yeah, like the one with John Paul II. I forgot what he said, but because John Paul II, he was born and buried on a full eclipse. I think he said the labor of the sun or something like that is how he described him. Which, like I said, he was born and buried on an eclipse.
Accuracy. So when we take a look at the current challenges and controversies, it makes you wonder if Pope Francis could indeed be the last pope as foretold by St. Malachi. So what we conclude is that St. Malachi's predictions are taken very seriously. In fact, back in 1958, just before the conclave that elected Pope John XXIII, Cardinal Spellman of New York went all out. He rented a boat, filled it with sheep, and sailed up and down the Tiber River. Why?
Yeah, this one's hilarious because it called him a sailor or something like that. So he tried to make the prophecy about him, and he went and rented a boat, and drove it up the river. That's hilarious.
To prove a point that he was the shepherd and sailor as predicted in the prophecies. Now, let's get back to the prophecy about the 111th Pope, Pope Benedict. It said, Gloria Olive.
Ratzinger, he always just look evil to me. His eyes are always dark. He looks like a gremlin. I couldn't stand looking at Ratzinger.
Which translates to the glory of the olive. Many people argue that this makes St. Malachi's prophecies pretty inaccurate. According to the prophecy, the next and final pope should be Peter Romanus. And here's where it gets really interesting. Some of these
Petrus Romanus
prophecies are eerily on the mark. Take Pope Urban VIII, for instance. His prophecy was Lilium et Rosa, which means the lily and the rose. He happens to be from Florence, and guess what's on the arms of Florence? An Irish flower, which looks just like a lily. Then there's Pope John Paul II, whose prophecy was De labore solis, meaning of the eclipse of the sun. Now, he was born on May 18th, 1920, right during a solar eclipse. Talk about uncanny. And history also tells us similar, or
he was also buried during the eclipse too. He didn't mention that.
Or even worse crisis had perpetually taken place in the church. The church's past is filled with scandals, some of which would make your jaw drop. We're talking about bloodshed, mobs running riot, corruption at its worst, sexual misconduct, and even the buying and selling of papal power. It's not a pretty picture. Take, for example, Pope Benedict IX. He was so notorious for his promiscuous behavior that Saint Peter Damian called him a demon from hell in the disguise of a priest. That's a pretty damning assessment, wouldn't you say? Then there's Pope Alexander VI, who openly admitted to having several children with his mistresses. That's a far cry from the image of a pious pope. But wait, there's more. Pope John VII, Pope Stephen VI, Pope Leo V, Pope John VIII, each of them faced their own unique issues during their time as pope.
You know, it's not surprising. They're men. When man gets power, I mean, it's not surprising at all. They're men.
Scandals, power struggles, you name it. But why all the fuss about these prophecies? Some wonder if St. Malachi might have been talking about something much bigger than just the line of popes. Could he have been hinting at an apocalyptic event, like the one described in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10? But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens will pass away with a great noise, and the elements will melt with fervent heat. Both the earth and the works that are in it will be burned up. Well, only God knows for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, guys. Well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. We're at an hour and a half. I like to try to keep my lives around an hour and a half. That way they're more manageable to watch. And my laptop's about to die. When did they start teaching celibacy? That's a good question. Let's look it up real quick. It says 1139 at the Second Lateran Council. They made it a prerequisite for the Latin Church. Okay. So it looks like in 1139, Stefan. That's all I was to say. I don't think when they first started it was a prerequisite. That was more of like a modern thing. So it's saying 1139, the Second Lateran Council made it a prerequisite. So basically around almost the 12th century. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, I think tomorrow we'll get on. I told you I'll do we'll go over the whole possibility of Catholicism and the Vatican being the beast and all that. I'm gonna do a little bit of studying and get some stuff ready for tomorrow, and then we'll tackle it from that point of view of possibly them being the mark of the beast and the Antichrist and all that. But yeah, guys, good stream today. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, leave comments if you ever have any subjects you want me to cover, and I'll be more than happy to cover them. But yeah, guys, God bless, and I'll catch you tomorrow with the Vatican stream. All right, guys, have a good one.